Hachette Digital presents The Bolter by Francis Osborne, read by Rosamund Pike. Diary of David Wallace, age 19. Balliol College, Oxford, Friday the 11th of May, 1934. Had letter from Sheila, saying she'd seen my mother, who wanted to meet me. All very queer. Not seen for 15 years. In some ways indifferent. Yet in others, I long to see her. I certainly look forward to it immensely. I objectify it all. Picture to myself, young Oxford graduate, meeting mother after 15 years, moving scene, and not me. Balliol College, Oxford, Thursday the 17th of May, 1934. Letter from my mother. I knew it at once. Suggesting meet Claridge's next week. Had to write to Sheila to find out her name. On Friday the 25th of May, 1934, the 41-year-old Idina Sackville stepped into Claridge's Hotel in Mayfair shortly before 1:45. Her heels clipped across the hallway, and she slipped into a chair in the central foyer. The tall mirrored walls sent her back the reflection of a woman impeccably blonde, and dressed in the dernier cri from Paris, but alone. She turned to face the entrance and opened her cigarette case. In front of her, pairs of hats bobbed past with the hiss of a whisper. She remained, it was clear, instantly recognizable. Idina tapped a cigarette out on the nearest little table, slid it into her holder, and looked straight ahead through the curling smoke. She was waiting for the red carnation that would tell her which man was her son. It was 2 weeks ago that she had been told that David needed to see her, and a decade and a half since she had been banned from seeing him and G, his younger brother. All that time she had stayed away. Had it been the right thing to do? Would she do it the same way again? That afternoon at Victoria Station, when she had said goodbye to a husband she still loved, was a lifetime behind her. The cigarette finished, Idina lit another, and then, as she leant forward, a dishevelled young man came through the revolving doors. 6'2", lean. She could see that he had her high cheekbones and unruly hair. His eyes, like Ewan's, were a deep brown. In his buttonhole was a red flower. For a decade and a half, Idina had been searching for something on the other side of the world. Perhaps all along, here was where it had been. 30 years after her death, Idina entered my life like a bolt of electricity. Spread across the top half of the front page of the review section of the Sunday Times was a photograph of a woman standing encircled by a pair of elephant tusks, the tips almost touching above her head. She was wearing a drop-waisted silk dress, high-heeled shoes, and a felt hat with a large silk flower perching on its wide, undulating brim. I wanted to join her on the hot, dry African dust, still stainingly rich red in this black-and-white photograph. I was not alone, for she was, the newspaper told me, irresistible. 5'3", slight, girlish, yet always dressed for the Rue Faubourg Saint-Honoré, she dazzled men and women alike. The article was headed Aristocrats, Alcohol and Adultery, and it was an extract from a book about the unsolved murder of the third of Idina's 5 husbands, the Earl of Errol. Idina had taken him to live in Kenya, where she welcomed her guests as she lay naked in the bath and made them play games to swap partners for the night. It was November 1982. I was 13 years old and transfixed. Was this the secret to being irresistible to men, to behave as this woman did, while walking barefoot at every available opportunity, as well as being intelligent, well-read, enlivening company? My younger sister's infinitely curly hair brushed my ear. She wanted to read the article too. Prudishly I resisted. Kate persisted, and within a minute we were at the dining-room table, the offending article in Kate's hand. My father looked at my mother, a grin spreading across his face, a twinkle in his eye. You have to tell them, he said. Mum's...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?